Hello, everybody. So we got some news in today. Adam Thielen has a brand new contract extension for 4 years worth $64 million, and that can go up to 73 million with incentives. And so on average, this is 16 million a year if you're going by the, not incentive version. And if you do, it's 18.25 a year. Now, per over the cap, they only have about 2.2 in cap right now in terms of cap space, but that was before this deal took place. And Thielen already had a cap hit of 8.1 this year, and I kind of imagine this will work kind of similar to some other contracts they've done where it doesn't really take place until the following year. And so I imagine that's not really going to change this year. It's just going to change dramatically for next year, maybe where he was scheduled to make, I think, 6.5, I guess, against the cap. That will probably go up, and they had about $14.2 million next year in projections and all that good stuff, also per over the cap. But is it a bad deal? Is it good? Is it fair? Depending on how you view it, we'll find out. And on average, I have 5 players that I have compared to Thielen, at least the last 3 years when Thielen emerged as a starter in 2016. So Thielen, starting with him, averages 91 receptions, 1,205.3 yards, and 6 touchdowns per year since 2016. The ones I have him compared to are Brown, Odell, DeAndre Hopkins, Devontae Adams, and one I assume a lot of people are probably going to compare him to. I have Diggs on here. And Antonio Brown, he averages 103.7 for 1,371.3 yards and 12 touchdowns per year. Odell Beckham, 67.7 receptions, 907 yards, and 6.3 touchdowns per year. And he was hurt that 1 year, so those can be a little, weighted against him. But DeAndre Hopkins, 96.3 for 1,301.3 yards and a 9.3 touchdowns per average. Devontae Adams only has 53.3 receptions, but he makes the most of it. So he averages 1,089 yards and 11.7 touchdowns here. And Diggs, 83.3, 924.3 yards and 7 touchdowns. Now, based on the list I have, he's the 4th highest paid wide receiver among these 6. So, not too bad. And I think that's a relatively safe spot, as he's 3rd in receptions with 91 on the average, and both DeAndre Hopkins and Antonio Brown outweigh him there with 103.7 and 96.3 compared to his 91. He's 3rd in yards with 1,205, and once again coming short to Hopkins and Brown with 1,300 each there. Well, Brown's is nearly 1,400. But he is last in touchdowns, however. He only averages 6 compared to the next closest, which is Odell at 6.3, and he kind of missed the majority of one of the years. So I think this is a fair deal for the most part. Like, it's a little weird. It's a little bit odd because you usually see one or the other clearly win a deal. And it's kind of nice that, it didn't really happen this time. Like, I think we got a fair deal overall. Obviously, some details have yet to come out, but from what I know, this looks like a relatively fair deal. And it will be very interesting to see how this thing is structured because, obviously you have to account for the extra, about $2.5 million a year in the incentives. If they do happen, you do have to account for it. That's usually how that works. But just in general, as a whole structuring point, I'm a little interested to see what happens here because clearly I think we all would agree Adam Thielen deserved a contract extension given the fact that he's wildly outplayed his other contract, which was like 3 years, $17 million, something like that. So he's insanely overproduced over that contract, and he deserves to be among these guys, I think. But I think this is also a fair place to land him because, once again, he kind of comes in third in all of them there, except for the touchdowns. He's the fourth highest paid one, but he's last in the touchdowns, which I guess brings it down. And Adams, even though he averages 1,089 a year, he's only had his first 1,000-yard year, and he makes $14.5 million a year on average. And Diggs is at 14.4, and I don't know, it's kind of nice to see how this is actually going down, because the only guys above him are Antonio Brown at $16.7 million a year, Odell at $18 million, and DeAndre Hopkins at $16.2 million. And then Adams and Diggs are at 14.5 and 14.4. So he kind of lands right in the middle of all of them. And I think that's a fair spot. I really do. And I like to know what you guys think down in the comments below. And until next time, I bid y'all adieu.